Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, coming to you from Washington, D.C., Congresswoman Susie Lee of CD3, here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Hello, is this D&D Roofing?
Yes, it is. How may I help you?
You did such a great job on my roof. May I speak to the owner?
I am an owner.
Oh, can I speak to your supervisor?
Sure.
How may I help you?
I love your work. May I speak to the owner?
I am an owner. We're all owners. Well, that's why at D&D we work so hard to keep your home safe and sound.
Oh, no wonder.
D&D Roofing and Sheet Metal. Local, employee-owned, here for you.
Retail's impact on Nevada's economy? Enormous. 8,600 businesses, large and small, employing 145,000 workers. And last fiscal year, retail paid tax on nearly $60 billion in sales. We're the Retail Association of Nevada. We support retail, we help it grow, and we mean business.
RANNV.org.
Take a look at Pro Group Management and see how your workers' comp requirements can be met head-on. By taking a proactive approach, Pro Group can assure that your company is meeting or exceeding state and federal standards. As you move forward in your industry, Pro Group moves with you, simplifying regulatory tasks, clearing the way so you can get the job done and look to your future success. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Early in the morning or throughout the night, professional truck drivers are on the job, serving you, safely moving freight that's crucial to our economy. From the oldest industries to our newest innovators, from the exotic to the everyday, trucks are everywhere, moving everything. Never afraid to embrace a future that makes Nevada and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
Nevada Newsmakers Goes to Washington is brought to you by the Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County, your RTC, our community. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you. University Medical Center of Southern Nevada. Compassion, accountability, integrity, respect. The Nevada Mining Association, mining a better future for Nevada. And NV Energy. NV Energy proudly serves Nevada, providing electricity to 2.4 million electric customers.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're delighted to welcome back to the program Congresswoman Susie Lee here in Washington, D.C. Pleasure to have you here.
Great to be here with you, Sam. Welcome to D.C.
Thank you. Obviously, got to jump into some serious topics right off the bat. What happened with the abortion issue in Texas and the Supreme Court's response? Your thoughts?
Listen, basically this is pretty much destroyed Roe v. Wade, and basically we have to protect a woman's right to choose. As you know, I was raised Catholic. This is an incredibly important issue and one that I've struggled with, but honestly, it's a very personal decision, one that should be made between a woman and her doctor. And what happened in Texas basically has opened the door to state legislatures across the country. And so we will be voting this week on the Women's Healthcare Protection Act, because this is, to me, a vital choice that should be protected between a woman and her doctor and her body.
Okay, so let's establish something. So it hasn't actually destroyed Roe v. Wade at this point. The Supreme Court has just not ruled on this.
They chose not to rule on it.
They chose not to rule on it. You've already seen a couple of lawsuits filed, according to the New York Times as we're taping this now, from ordinary citizens. It seems like this is designed to be blown up eventually by the Supreme Court anyway. But as you also point out, it's, the elephant is pushing its trunk inside the door here. So, isn't it Congress's responsibility to do something here?
Absolutely.
you know, you've got a Democrat in the White House, Democratic control of both houses, but such an important issue, can you get it through within the next 18 months before the next presidential election?
Listen, I do think it is time for Congress to act, and that's why we're going to be voting on the Women's Health Care Protection Act this week. Obviously, I can't say what's going to happen in the Senate, but I think that, to me, not only giving women the freedom to make their own choices, I think is essential in this country. Not to mention how Texas law goes even a step further, where you have citizens basically becoming bounty hunters. So I think it's a radical turn that the Texas legislature took, and it's up to Congress to codify Roe v. Wade once and for all.
Do you have faith in the Supreme Court at this point in time to vote on the law and not on the politics?
Listen, I hope that the Supreme Court does its job and does it with impartiality. Obviously, we saw with the previous administration how it became so politicized, and that there were, justices that were appointed based on their positions on this very issue. And so that's why, to me, it's up to Congress to really step up and act on this.
Are you optimistic?
I'm always optimistic. I wouldn't be in this job if I were not optimistic.
Why do you say that?
Because
that's not a feeling that a lot of people have about Congress, and not a feeling that a lot of Congress people put out there.
Well, listen, I'm not a traditional politician, as you know. My background was in nonprofit work before I ran for Congress. And part of the reason I ran was because I was frustrated with the hyperpartisanship and with the dysfunction here. And so I do think that we need members who are willing to roll up their sleeves, who are going to look at things and try to put the pieces of the puzzle together and work together. And so I feel like you have to have optimism if you want to try to do that.
You're part of the Problem Solvers group. I think that one of the things that is not understood by the public at large, because of the media response to everything in D.C. is so hyperpartisan these days, is that there are actually a lot of things that are getting done. Are there not?
Absolutely.
So share with us some of the things that can tell people that you can have a little bit more faith in your government.
Well, listen, look at what our response has been to this pandemic. From the Families First Act to the CARES to the package we passed in December to the American Rescue Plan. We actually, when you think about what our economy, what we were facing with our economy 18 months ago and where we stand today, obviously Congress stepped up and acted. And obviously had an incredible impact, especially on our state, which really was at the center of the economic fallout from this pandemic. And now we're looking at $6.7 billion that has been invested in the state of Nevada. And so I think that's key. And the Problem Solvers was instrumental. And if you recall, last September, we were at an impasse on that final package, which was so critical because this pandemic has basically gone on and on. But, it was very critical for us to continue to get resources into the hands of the American public. And we did not give up. And so we sat down in a bicameral, bipartisan manner and pushed and made sure that we got that final package through before the American Rescue Plan. We've also been instrumental in this transportation bill, the $1.2 trillion bill. Again, that's something we'd been working on for months. Back in April, we met with both parties, both members of the House of Representatives, senators, governors, to really lay out what the framework was. And that was the framework that formed the basis of the Senate bill. And so, I think that it's hard work. It's not sexy. A lot of it does not happen in the news. It happens behind closed doors. But ultimately, it's that type of negotiation that brings us forward and gets things done for the American people.
Does it irritate you that it doesn't? I realize it's not sexy.
Yes, it irritates me.
The fact that it isn't out there, that the media chooses not to cover the positive things, and so you have this hyperpartisanship that really is overdone when it really comes down to it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it sells newspapers, right? I mean, you're not going to sell a newspaper saying everyone's happy and working together. But, you know, ultimately, I think it's our job. It's our duty to roll up our sleeves and figure things out and, you know, make a deal. And that's what we need to do, and that's what we need to do going forward here in the next couple of weeks, too.
You know, I'll bring up an interesting point that I got hammered for a few years ago. It was probably 2009. I was on a radio program in Southern Nevada in the depths of the recession, and with some other journalists, and not that I'm a journalist, I have a talk show here. But I said that normally it's not the job of the media to report on the planes landing safely every day. Mm-hmm. But sometimes maybe it is. And at times where, you know, things are so rent that maybe we should be doing more in terms of publicizing, and not under the heading of good news, but just what is really going on to say, hey, we are getting things done.
Absolutely. I would love that.
Well, you and me both, but I'm not sure it's going to happen. Let's take a break. We'll be back more with Congresswoman Susie Lee after this time out.
7 at 7 is available anytime, anywhere.
I'm Riley Smith with your Vegas Golden Knights. Watch 7 minutes of nonstop news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Streaming on LVRJ.com and Twitter. Powered by the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Modern boutique Ahern Hotel and Events Center in Las Vegas. Host meetings and events on 2 floors. Stay in luxurious rooms and suites. Unlimited branding opportunities. Regional Italian cuisine by Chef Mark Segrisi. Flexible event spaces. Full buyout options. Visit ahernhotel.com today.
Before the masks, before the distancing, before the world changed, UMC was ready. Our response to COVID-19 began before the crisis did, with our own team of infectious disease experts who've spent their careers planning for this moment. With a pandemic response plan, we'd practiced again and again, and by blazing new trails in large-scale testing, including every patient we admit. Always ready. UMC.
7 at 7 is available anytime, anywhere.
I'm Riley Smith with your Vegas Golden Knights. Watch 7 minutes of nonstop news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Streaming on LVRJ.com and YouTube. Powered by the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Congresswoman Susie Lee. It didn't come in #1 as an issue in a recent poll. I think it came in 3rd or 4th. But it seems to me that we've seen the revelation that women have known about forever, but perhaps a lot of men haven't known about, which was what a problem childcare and affordability of childcare has been in this country, where somebody is making $17 an hour but needs to pay $15 an hour for childcare. What's the point of going to work? Is this the time where we should do something about childcare and the payment of it, and how should that work?
Absolutely. I think that the time is far overdue, especially in a state like Nevada. We rank second to last in terms of availability of affordable child care. And in fact, 72% of children in Nevada live in what we call a child care desert, meaning there just aren't enough slots available for them to access child care. Not only that, with this pandemic, we saw women leave the workforce in incredible numbers. If this country is going to be competitive economically, we need to get women back to work, and we need to make sure they have options and availability of affordable childcare. So what we're looking at in the Build Back Better Act is to cap the what a family would pay on childcare at 7%. Also invest in, obviously you need workers, you need to pay them well, you need facilities. And I have a bill, the Small Business Child Care Investment Act, which would basically open up for nonprofit child care providers to be able to access SBA loans so that they can expand their operations. So we'll help deal with the infrastructure end of things. But when you look at what we need to do to get this economy back on track, making sure that families have access to affordable child care, to me, is top of the list. You know, it's something that I hear it every single day from my constituents. that they struggle when, if you're going to work and you're making, $40,000 a year and you're spending, $15,000 of it on childcare, it's really making it hard to pay other bills. And in fact, Nevada is one of 33 states in which it costs more to provide childcare for your infant than it does to send a child to a 4-year public university. I think and as you all know, I'm an education advocate. Early childhood education to me is our biggest bang for our buck, but making sure that we have accessible quality childcare that's affordable for families, I think, is just a vital piece of economic recovery.
In terms of talking to business people about the opportunities, because it would seem that this would be a great business to get into, the cost of the infrastructure, the actual building itself, seemed to be, the roadblock. Is there something in this that could help there?
Yeah, there will be available funding that will be available for people to access to build facilities. And obviously I'm pushing forward with my bill that will open up SBA loans for nonprofit providers as well.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back more with Congresswoman Susie Lee after this timeout.
I'm men's rights attorney Marilyn York, and because I represent men in all family law matters, women often call me gender traitor, woman hater, and even disgusting. So why represent men and target myself with these offensive monikers? It's simple. Children with fathers in their lives are 6 times less likely to drop out of school, 15 times less likely to go to prison, and 5 times less likely to commit suicide. So ladies, you can hate me, but please love your children more than you hate their fathers.
Dimitri Prine here for Design Outdoor. At Design Outdoor, we specialize in all hardscapes, pavers, and walls you'll need for everything, from wonderful small yards to full-blown outdoor living. And we only refer the best contractors to make your vision a reality. Our store and backyard are located at 11600 South Virginia, just north of DeMonte Ranch Parkway. Visit designoutdoor.com or call us at 851-9499.
Nevada Newsmakers Goes to Washington is brought to you by the Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County, your RTC, our community. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you. University Medical Center of Southern Nevada. Compassion, accountability, integrity, respect. The Nevada Mining Association, mining a better future for Nevada. And NV Energy. NV Energy proudly serves Nevada, providing electricity to 2.4 million electric customers.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Congresswoman Susie Lee of CD3. I wanted to talk to you about the Clark County Lands Bill and your thoughts on that, because you've got both sides going here. Development, environment, do we have enough water? Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it is basically coming together and bringing all those forces together. As you know, as you know, I am a strong conservationist. I'm an avid outdoorswoman. I value our public lands in Nevada. I've also been a leader when it has come to deal with our drought, the mega drought we have in the Southwest. And then as we look to Nevada furthering our position as a leader in renewable energy, that too requires land. So it's all of these forces coming together. We have a bill drafted that has been supported by many parties involved. Obviously, there are some that are still unhappy, but when you look at, for me, the need for Nevada to diversify our economy, I think that we've learned from this pandemic that when we enter a recession, Nevada always seems to have a bigger dip than most other states because we are driven by one industry. And that, of course, requires responsible development. And so I think we're trying to get to a balance where we're balancing all the different sides, and hopefully we can get this bill passed soon.
Diversification to me, as you look at northern Nevada and the remarkable change that we've seen in North Nevada in terms of economic diversification. It seems that your predominant industry is still going to take a hit, but you're going to protect the tax base and therefore be able to run essential services if you have that diversification. Because I don't see any way that you're going to put up any kind of industry that's going to compete with 150,000 rooms on the Las Vegas Strip.
No, we're not going to. I mean, obviously, gaming and tourism will remain a key factor, but I do think as we look, like you said, to stabilize our tax base and, you know, to fuel economic growth, that we have an opportunity, whether it is in renewable energy, the healthcare field, light manufacturing. I just secured $1 million for a workforce development center in Henderson to support Haas automation. So I think we need, as a state, to start to look at those sectors of the economy that can help us just remain more secure in times of economic downturn.
Are you concerned, being in support of renewable energy, which I think most people are, that when you look at what's happening in California, where we're seeing, the power companies saying, hey, we need to shut down the power, cut back, and then it rolls over into Nevada, that we're pushing too quickly into the renewable energy field rather than taking it a little bit slower?
Listen, I think climate crisis is here now, and we need to take bold steps to reduce our carbon dependence in this country. I think Nevada has been a leader. I do think that some of the factors in California are not quite the same in Nevada.
But we're being affected,
yes,
though. I mean, this
yes.
is the second time just recently where
well, we have extreme heat, and we've been asked to.
I guess that's my point, is that we don't appear to be prepared, either in California or Nevada, for as fast a changeover as we're pushing towards.
Well, listen, that's why the Transportation and Infrastructure Bill, the Build Back Better Act, is so incredibly important, because that's investment that will get us to where we need to go to develop the resiliency of our infrastructure, which would address the issues you're speaking about.
Ivanpah, the airport. When do you think that's coming online? Marilyn Kirkpatrick, the chair of the Clark County Commission, said before she is done serving, if she serves all her terms, which would be less than 10 years. But then I saw another number out there that was pushed out significantly. What's your thoughts on that?
Again, I think that, first of all, we have a great opportunity with this transportation bill. That was a bipartisan bill, part of what we negotiated with the problem solvers. And that investment could assist in speeding up the development of that. And then, of course, you have to have the lands bill as well. So we have a couple pieces of the puzzle to fit together, but I'm hopeful that we'll get it done.
Okay, so you have a confidence level that both the lands bill and money for
Yes.
Ivanpah will move ahead. Do you have any concerns, we've got about 2.5 minutes here, about the amount of debt that we're loading here onto the country? Senator Reid on this program a couple of years ago said that we had already passed the tipping point for debt in this country, and here we are adding trillions of dollars to the debt. And according to Congressman Amadei's interview earlier on this program, he said that the interest rates could go up. They're not just going to stay at near zero. If interest rates go up, then our payment on the debt is going to go up as well. Do you have concerns about that?
Yeah, I'm a fiscal conservative, and that's why I have been advocating for these packages to be paid for. And that's going to be a key part. That's going to be a key part in these negotiations on the Build Back Better Act as well.
We always hear that, but then after a time it always appears that they end up not being paid for.
Well, listen, I think that we have a structure in place. I mean, the Ways and Means just released their package, which pays for most of the Build Back Better agenda, and so I think that we'll get there. It's something that we're committed to in the House.
And the water situation, what's your confidence level there?
Again, this, to me, it comes down to years of neglect of our climate crisis, and we have extreme drought in the West. And I'm actually proud that my large-scale Water Recycling Investment Act is included in the transportation bill, which would basically increase the federal match to support large-scale recycling projects. The Las Vegas Valley Water Authority has partnered with LA Metro. There is a water recycling project that could really be the equivalent of enough water for 500,000 homes. So we need to keep working for those types of solutions. But ultimately, again, climate change is real. We cannot act fast enough. And that's why these bills that we are debating as we speak are so incredibly important to make sure that we have the type of investment in this country that we need to address what to me is existential.
When somebody who talks to you is a climate change denier, what do you say to them?
I say, you've lived in, you know, a lot of them in Vegas. We had incredible heat. Our Lake Mead is at the lowest level it's been since the Hoover Dam. You have derecho storms in Iowa, you know, multiple hurricanes, floods in the Midwest. It is pretty clear that climate change is taking a toll, not just on this country, across the world. And we have to step up and act. And right now we are basically mitigating the effects of climate change, and we have to do everything in our power to make sure it doesn't get any worse.
That's where we have to leave it. Thank you so much for doing this, and let's do it again before next year.
Great, thanks. Good to see you.
Thank you, and we'll be right back. Brian Kulpa Photography was born in the rolling hills of Massachusetts, and now he can help you experience the stunning beauty of Nevada in a whole new way through the power of flight. Flying has always been a passion for Brian, and at Brian Kulpa Photography, he can make your imagination soar. Brian has the creative mind and tools to tell your unique story. Experience the bird's eye view at briankulpaphotography.com.
Hi, my name's Marilyn Miner, and I'm sure you'd agree that Nevada's a very special place to live. I was born here, and my husband and I have raised our family here. I feel it's a privilege to live and work in the Truckee Meadows. I especially enjoy helping my clients reach their real estate goals. Sometimes the smallest details provide the greatest satisfaction. I'd be complimented to talk to you about your next move.
Call Marilyn Miner at Dixon Realty, 742-1280, or log on to marilynminer.com.
Safety. We all think about it. You think about it when he buckles in, when you check your mirrors and put away your phone. RTC thinks about safety too. In fact, we create it. Center turn lanes mean fewer blind spots. Bike lanes keep cyclists and you safe. Roundabouts reduce injury collisions, and all these crosswalks are designed to keep families like yours safe. Safety is your priority, and it's ours too. Every day, in everything we do.
Pro Group Management is the place where companies can find workers' comp solutions that are designed to meet their specific business requirements. As regulations evolve, Pro Group takes a proactive approach to clear the path to make sure your business stays ahead of the curve. Knowing your workers' comp program is optimized, you can focus on other important matters related to your growing business. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
On our next broadcast, we'll continue our coverage from Washington, D.C. here on Nevada Newsmakers. We'll see you then.